script available?
We don't.
It's
Well,
okay. It's okay.
the light is so dim, unless they put in the screen.
It's okay.
You know it?
I
Don't you,
know it, but
You're gonna put the song, the script for some Sarada.
संसार दावा नललीधलोका तृणाय कारुण्या घना घना त्वां
संसार दावा
नललीधलोका तृणाय कारुण्या
Gana gana
कल्याण गुणर्णवस वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणरविन्दं
प्राप्त सकालना गुणनवस वन्दे गुरु श्री
महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित माध्यान मनसुरसेना महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्य गीता वादित माध्यान मनसुरसेना रोमाञ्चकं पशु तरंग भाजो वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणरविन्दं रोमाञ्चकं पशु तरंग भाजो वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणरविन्दं श्री विग्रहारा धननितनाना श्रृंगार तन्मंदिर मर्जनादो
श्री विग्रहाराधननिधनाना
श्रृंगार तन्मंदिर मर्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्तस्य नुयुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणरविन्दम्
युक्तसभक्तं सनियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणरविन्दम्
चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत् प्रसाद स्वादान तृप्तान् हरिभक्त संगा भगवत् प्रसाद स्वादान तृप्तान् हरिभक्त संगा कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरु श्री चरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणरविन्दं श्रीराधिका माधवरे अपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नां
श्रीराधिका माधवयरपर माधुरलीला
गुणरूपनाम्नां प्रदीक्षणा स्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् प्रदीक्षणा स्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसीधे पयालिभिर्युक्तयपेक्षणीये
निकुञ्जयो जय विवेदोक्तिरपेक्षणीया
तत्रातिदाक्ष्यद अतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् तत्रातिदाक्ष्यद अतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेना समस्तशास्त्रे युक्तस्तथा भव यत एव साध्वी साक्षाद्धरित्वेना समस्तशास्त्रे युक्तस्तथा भव यतैव साध्वी किन्तु प्रभुर्या प्रियैव तस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम्
किन्तु प्रभो प्रियैव
तस्य
वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम्
यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादन न गति कुतोऽपि
यश प्रसादो यश प्रसादं नगति कुतोऽपि
ध्यायां शुभं तस्य यशास्त्रीसान्ध्यं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम्
ध्यायां शुभं तस्य यशास्त्रीसान्ध्यं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम्
वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त
स्वामिनिति नामिने
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमस्ते
सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य
जय श्री Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Gaura Nitai, 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 Jaya Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Jaya Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Jaya Jagannath Baladev. जय राधा नील माधव, 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 जय राधा नील। जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान, जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान, जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान, जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान। जय प्रभुपदा, 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 जय प्रभुपदा। जय गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा,
Jam Vishnupada Paramahansa Prabhajakaacharya Suttara Shri Maharaj Divine Grace Abhay Charamina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Pratishta Beviti Samstapakachar Vaishnava Siramani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gaurya Guru Varga Patita Udhar ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Gunasat Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ji ki jai. Ananta Guru Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद श्री गुरु श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावृणावतार की जय। गोलोकेर प्रमधान नम संकीर्तन जग की जय। जुग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। बृहद निदांग ट्वेंस नैतुल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप राधा कुंज समकुंज गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रज वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। टेलो श्री श्री राधा नील माधव की जय। श्री श्री माया पूर्णवद्वीप एक चक्र धाम की जय। परम करुण श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। श्री राम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन करुण सिंहरे भगवान की जय। गंगा माय जमुना माय की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंदी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री मथुरा दारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौरी प्रमानंदे। All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. Hari 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 Bol.
Namaste Narsingaya.
Namaste Narasingh.
Namaste Narsingaya. Prahlad Lad Daine. हिरण्यकाशी पूर्वसः शिलटङ्कानकालये एतो नरसिंहा परतो नरसिंहा शरण नितो नरसिंहा भाई नरसिंहा हृदय नरसिंहा नरसिंहा मदिम शरण प्रपदे कर कमल वरे नकाम अद्भुत श्रृंगार दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगा केशव धीरता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे कर कमल वरे नखाम अद्भुत श्रृंगार
अद्भुत
हिरण्यकशिपु तनु भृंगा केशव धीरता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 बोल नरसिंह भगवान की जय भक्त प्रहलाद की जय प्रभुपाद महाराज की जय
श्री वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय के सब सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रारे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय के सब सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रारे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रारे देवी सतवताय नमो नमः श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी
कृष्ण प्रेयसी
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो अभिलाषी
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो अभिलाषी
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो अभिलाषी
राधा कृष्ण सेवा
ये तुम्हारा शरण लो तारा वांच पूर्ण हो
तुम्हारा शरण लो
কৃপা করি করো তারে বৃন্দাবনবাসী
कृपा करे कार तारे वृंदावनवासी
मोरा ये विलास कुंजे दियो नयने रिबो सदा युगल रूपरासी नयने रिबो सदा युगल रूपरासी এই নিবেদন দারো সাকিরানুগত করো এই নিবেদন দারো সাকিরানুগত করো সেবাদি কর দিয়ে করো নিজ দাসী दीन कृष्ण दासे को ये नाम रहोय श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदाए नभासी श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमे सदाए नभासी श्री राधा गोविंद में सदाए नबासी यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च कानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपादे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपादे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणपदे पदे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी। जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी। नित्य गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, नित्य गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल।
श्री वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रारे देवी शतवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रारे देवी शतवताय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय के सब सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी शतवताय नमो नमः। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय। Oh, Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision, I will always behold beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower Kavadamses of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. Please, loving Son of Krishna, please. May I always sing love Shri Radha and Govinda, Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Krishna Thakam Ki Jai. Nam Namakari Vaudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Hitadrushi Tava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midishamya Janina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Bhajagari Shakamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhavatar Bhakti Rahituki Twai Oinandatanu Kinkaram Paritamam Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankajastita Duli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam Galora Shrudharaya Bhadanam Gadagadharudaya Gira Pulakarinchitam Vapurukada Tavanam Agrahane Bhavisati Jugaitam Nimishena Chakusha Prabhusaitam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahiname Asli Savapadaratam Pinastumam Adarshana Marmahatam Karotuva Jata Tathava Vidadatulam Pato Matprananatastu Saivana Paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Siksastakam Ki Jai Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradaya Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govind. In these transcendental names you have invested your transcendental energies. There is no even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself a lower and stronger street, one should be more tolerant than a treat, devoid of a sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause of devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, some or other I am falling this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at the glorious feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri 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 Kirstakam Ki. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme devotees who dedicate a life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature of Busun's or Vedic version. 5. Consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activity karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting with the holy names, and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It was also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees. They can fulfill the desire of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Pancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhuvevacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jnananta puja vaishnavrindiki.
Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Satarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantha Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Verse number 2. Bahurupa Ivabhati Mayaya Bahurupaya Raman Mano Gunesvasya Mamaham Iti Manyate Bahurupa, multi-forms, Iva, as it were, Abhati, manifested, Mayaya, by the influence of the external energy. Bahurupaya, in multifarious forms. Ramamana, enjoying, as it were. Gunesu, in the modes of different qualities. Asya, of the external energy. Mama, mine. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Manyate, thinks. The illusion living entity appears in so many forms, offered by the external energy of the Lord, while enjoying in the modes of material nature. The encaged living entity misconceives, thinking in terms of I and mine. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The different forms of living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of the Lord according to the modes of nature the living being desires to enjoy. The external material energy is represented by her three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity, and according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. There are 900,000 varieties of material bodies in the water, or aquatics, 2 million vegetable bodies, 1.1 million, 1,100,000 worms and reptiles, 1 million forms of birds, 3 million different bodies of beasts, or meaning mammals, and 400,000 human forms. Now this is 8,400,000, but these species are not just on the earth, they're in the whole universe. That's why there's so many. So far, as far as different species go that scientists have recognized, I don't think it's more than 1,500,000 or 600,000. You want to look it up? How many species have modern scientists, species of living beings have modern scientists recognized? Although there are 8,400,000 varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe, and the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to different modes of enjoying spirit within himself. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. Did you find it?
In National Geography, they are saying, Maharaj, 8.7 million species of plants.
Who says that? In what?
National Geography.
What?
National Geography.
Yeah.
Saying 8.7 million species of plants and animals in existence. And the Science Daily is saying that 15 million different species live on our planet, but only 2 million of them are currently known to science.
Okay, well, 2 million. So how are they guessing that there are 8,700,000? You see, it's all nonsense. It's crazy stuff. So what did you see, Prabhu?
One I see is like a Science Daily.
Yeah.
ScienceDaily.com.
So what does it say? What does it say?
Yeah, they said that about 8.7 million use or take 1.3 million.
What? Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, so about 8.7 million. But in parentheses they said view or take 1.3 million is the new estimated total number of species on the earth.
Estimated.
Yeah, estimated.
And then what did yours
And the
say?
most precise calculation ever
What?
offered.
The most what?
The most precise calculation ever offered, with 6.5 million species on land and 2.2 million in oceans, announced by the Census of Marine Life. The figure is based on a new analytical technique. The number of species on Earth had been estimated previously at 3 million to 100 million, something like that.
Yeah, this is all speculation.
Yeah. I mean,
So what did yours say, Prabhu?
A study in 2011 predicted there are some 8.7
No. Start again. Read it slow.
study in 2011 predicted there are some 8.7 million species on Earth, and we have identified maybe 1.6 million of them.
See, that was my point. 1.5, 1.6 million. They're estimating. They're guessing.
yeah.
But they've only identified 1.6 million.
Maybe they are saying maybe 1.6 million.
Crazy. Okay. So the 8.4 million is throughout the whole universe. And also, you have to define what you mean by a species. So they have a different understanding of species than the Bhagavatam does. Okay, so all together there are 8,400,000 varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe. And the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to different modes of enjoying spirit within himself. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore, by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied him the body of a tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, a living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in a higher planet can also get it by the grace of the Lord, and if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is so kind that he will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. The living entity's desiring is like dreaming of a golden mountain. A person knows what a mountain is, and he knows also what gold is. Out of his desire only, he dreams of a golden mountain, and when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds in his awkward state that there is neither gold nor a mountain, and what to speak of a golden mountain. The different positions of living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Identification with the body and the place and the place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity, and the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so this is a very interesting purport because there's one sentence here that says, so even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity, and according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. Now let's say you're in a hospital, in the ICU, intensive care unit, and you're drugged up and you die. So basically you die without any visible consciousness. Maybe you're dreaming something in your mind, but it's not visible to anyone. So, or you're not even dreaming, because you dream when you're first going to sleep and when you're coming out of sleep, but in deep sleep you don't dream. So let's say the person was in deep sleep. That's why they put them in the intensive care unit, so they don't feel all the pains that their body is going through due to their sickness. And then they die in that situation. So then that means they're definitely going to go backwards. It's going to depend mostly on their karma during their life. So what happens to us at the moment of death is determined by the desires, unfulfilled desires we have, and the karma that we have engaged in. And usually that's good things and bad things. Sometimes there's more bad things than good things. Sometimes there might be more good things than bad things. So that'll determine whether we go up or down from the human form of life. But one has to be completely Krishna conscious to be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So most people are not. They have unfinished desires, and they have a mixed bag of good and bad karma. But if someone dies being unconscious at the moment of death, then they're definitely going downward in the cycle of birth and death, and in the cycle of reincarnation. But there is a possibility, it says, so even in the material nature, there's a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. And according to this choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. And don't forget, the material energy is controlled by Krishna, so it's not an impersonal thing. And Krishna puts Durga Devi and Yamaraj in charge of the material energy, right? So Yamaraj is in charge of people who die, and Durga Mata in cages or imprisons the members of all the living entities in the material world. So if there is a possibility, as it says here, or a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. So this independent choice can go three ways, as it says. It says the tiger wants to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied him the body of the tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, a living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in a higher planet can also get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is so kind that he will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. So, therefore, there's a book called the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Have any of you ever heard of it? Huh? You heard of it, right? You ever read it? Okay. What did you understand from it?
A lot of mantras can be used during the moment of death to guide somebody towards some goal.
Yeah, the Tibetan Book of the Dead teaches you how to choose your next body, basically. Now, even if you choose to have a body, there's going to be the factor of your karma is always going to be involved. So that could that has to be taken into account. All these things are going to be decided by Yamaraj and ultimately under the control of Lord Krishna. So, but it is possible, as the Tibetan Book of the Dead tries to explain, to make a choice, and that possibility is there because even Prabhupada said, so even in the material nature, there's a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. Now, the best choice is to desire a spiritual body and go back to Godhead and serve the Lord eternally. That's the best choice, and that's the most intelligent choice. But then some people might want to, they like meat because they've been eating meat their whole life, so they want to have a body where they can eat meat and taste the blood also and so forth. So they'll get an animal body that's suitable for that, like a tiger or some kind of a lizard or so forth. Then, but or else someone might want to become a demigod. So that's possible also. And there are many different gradations of demigods. So we see there are millions of choices that one can make depending on their desires. But the karma that they have acquired during their life is also going to temper that choice. Okay, so the concept of I, or I am, is very interesting. In the Bible, there's a phrase made by, I think, God, and he says, the God of the Bible, and he says, I am that I am. Have you ever heard that phrase? I am that I am? No? Yes? Yeah, right. Do you know what it means? Most people don't know what it means. But everybody tries to interpret it. let's see what it says here. I am that I am is a common English translation of the Hebrew phrase Eye Aser Eye. Also, I am who I am. I will become what I choose to become. I am what I am. I will be what I will be. I create what I create, or I am the existing one. So this is, okay, now, when God speaks that, it might have a different type of understanding, but when a living entity says that, it means that, in general, I will be what I will be, or I will be what I choose to be, put it like that. Okay, so let's see what it says. According to the Hebrew Bible, in the encounter of the burning bush, Moses asks what he is to say to the Israelites when they ask what the gods, or Elohim, have sent him to them, and Yahweh replies, I am who I am, adding, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. Okay, let's see what it says here. It is somewhat remarkable that despite this exchange, the Israelites never asked Moses for the name of God. Then there are a number of probably unanswerable questions, including who it is that does not know God's name, Moses or the Israelites. Most commentators take it that it is Moses who does not know, meaning that the Israelites will ask him the name in order to prove his credentials and just what the statement means. The last can be approached in three ways. I am who I am, an evasion of Moses' question. I am who I am, or I am who is, a statement of the nature of Israel's gods, or Elohim, or I am who I am, or I am because I am. This version has not played a major part in scholarly discussion of the phrase, but the first variant has been incorporated into the New English Bible. So you see, there's interpretation, theories, speculation everywhere, right? So Prabhupada says, the different positions of the living entities in the material world are multifarious manifestations of bodies. The different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi, or the materialist who wants sense gratification, thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks, I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls, is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained, under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth, is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity, and the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we see a much clearer explanation of this misconception called I and mine. The I means the ego, how you identify yourself. So if we identify ourselves as a material product made of matter and don't recognize the existence of the soul, then I am that I am means I am this body and I am a product of matter. And in that confused state of mind, I also think that everything can belong to me, or something can belong to me, you see. So basically, I am that I am depends on how people are influenced by the modes of material nature. If they are under the influence of the modes of material nature, they're going to define themselves in a materialistic way. And most people do that. So I am American, I am Latino, I am Black American, I am white American, I am this, I am that. So those are all misconceptions influenced by the modes of material nature and ultimately identifying with the body, which is not the person. So what does it mean, I am that I am? It can mean many different things for people. But most of the time it means that I am a product of this material nature. Now, if God says, I am that I am, like the Hebrew God who spoke to Moses on the mountain, I forget the name of the mountain in the Sinai Peninsula, and but Moses didn't see God, he just heard him, and God was behind this fire. And so whatever he heard as a message, people are not sure what it means, because God says, I am that I am. So there was 3 different interpretations just now that we read in the Bible. See, this is the problem with the Abrahamic religions, that means Judaism and Christianity and Islam. There are a lot of things that are not clear. The number one thing that's not clear in all 3 religions is the concept of the soul. See, when you talk about morality, all the religions are the same. It can be Judaism, it can be Christianity, it can be Islam, it can be Hinduism, it can be Sikhism. Respect your mother and father, don't commit any murder, etc., etc. So you won't see hardly much of a difference between one religion and another when you talk about the morality. But when you talk about the soul and you talk about God, then there's huge differences between these religions. Huge differences. So, therefore, there's a statement in the Bible, I guess the Old Testament, that says that Moses heard God say, I am that I am. And now, they're still trying to figure out what it means. But here, Prabhupada is clearly explaining that the misconception of mine and I, the materialist or karmi, thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. So we explained that the other day, but I'll go over it again, that the materialist, the mundane materialist, thinks that he can dominate and control matter and people. Everybody, whether you're a man or a woman, we've come to this world to emulate in one way or other God by being the controller and the enjoyer. So everybody is in that mindset of being the controller and enjoyer in the material world, and they become attached to things that they seem to control, like televisions. Like just 2 days ago, there's this famous black couple that lives in California, and the husband was a famous guy who helped many black singers become prominent, and then his wife also was, always by his side. So 2 or 3 days ago, a black thug entered their house with a gun to rob them, and the wife apparently must have gotten in a fight with him, or might have said some things to him, and he killed her. And in the meantime, by killing her, he also accidentally shot himself in the foot, and then he tried to run away, and the police caught him very quickly. So this family, the husband and wife, the husband's in his 80s and the wife is in the early 80s. They didn't know this was going to happen to them. They live in a mansion in a very high-end neighborhood near Los Angeles, and they're very famous, very, very famous, both of them. And all of a sudden, a thug comes in and kills the lady. For some reason or other, maybe the husband wasn't there when it happened, or wasn't in that room when it happened, and then the thug runs away and gets caught. So now, why? Let's say a thief comes and says, "Give me your money." Now, if you're very attached to what you own, like these people have a big mansion, they have a lot of expensive things in the mansion, they have cars, they have money in the bank. Apparently, I'm not sure, but apparently the woman must have become angry, especially because the thief was a black guy also. And she might have said something to him, or told him, "Get out of here, and we're not going to give you anything." And he kills her, you see. So this concept of mine leads to many different problems in life. And is it actually true that I own something? Well, it seems to be true, but actually everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing belongs to us, right? And the material energy is Krishna's energy. It's not our energy. And everything we see is made of matter or matter and spirit, like animals and human beings. So the matter belongs to Krishna, and the soul belongs to Krishna, because our souls are all emanations from Krishna. We are Mamai Vamsa Jiva Bhuta Jiva Loka Sanatana. So we're all Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So we are all part and parcel of Krishna. So basically, the matter belongs to Krishna, and our soul belongs to Krishna. So when we develop this idea of mine and I, the I idea is the ego of the person, but I am a product of matter, and matter belongs to me. So that's because we're still under the influence of the three modes of material nature. So therefore it says, the different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi, or materialist, thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls, is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy the material life. There you go. So this lady was killed because of her strong desire to enjoy material life, and she got angry, most probably, and was willing to maybe scream or threaten or just tell the thief that we're not going to give you anything, just get out of here, and he kills her right away. So this is because of a strong desire to enjoy material life. When there's a strong desire to enjoy material life, a lot of things happen. We become controlled by time, by the modes of material nature. We become subjected to miseries of this body, miseries caused by other bodies, and miseries caused by catastrophic events that are under the control of the devas. And we become controlled also by lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. And so many things happen. Many things happen to us, and we develop these crazy ideas of I and mine. And because of that, it can lead to war, it can lead to violence, it can lead to so many disturbing events. So, for example, Prabhupada tells about how a hunter can catch a monkey. So, a hunter gets a bottle with a very tight opening in the top, and he puts a cherry in it and leaves it in a place in the jungle, and he waits to see what's going to happen. And one monkey comes and and notices there's a cherry in the bottle. And the monkey starts playing around with the bottle, trying to force its hand into the bottle. Eventually, he gets his hand in the bottle, grabs the cherry, and then the hunter runs after the monkey, who tries to run away, but the monkey refuses to let go of the cherry because it went through that whole problem to get it, effort to get it. And because of that, the monkey has a handicap, and he gets caught by the hunter. Now, why did the hunter put a cherry in, let's say, a wine bottle? Because he understands the psychology of the monkey. Now, by the way, there are many cherries in the forest, but the monkey saw a cherry in the bottle, and he decided to get it. And the monkey went through a whole problem to get into the bottle, but once he got his hand on the cherry, he refused to let it go, even by endangering himself to getting caught. He refused to let it go. This is the desire to enjoy the material world that caused the monkey not to let go of that cherry. You see, in the same way, this lady, she must have definitely said something or done something that angered this thief. You know, she might have said, "We're not giving you anything. Get out of my house, or I'll call the police," or something. And he shoots her and kills her. So because of her, like the monkey has a grip on that cherry and won't let go, even though it's going to cause him to get caught. So this is the problem with the concept of I and mine. Now, is there a concept of I? Yes, there's a positive concept of I and a negative concept. I am the eternal servant of Krishna. Jivera Swarupahaya Nityera Krishna Das. What is my real identity and my position in this world? I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. So that's the correct concept of I. And the wrong concept of I, I'm a product of material nature, and I'm controlling parts of material nature. I got this big mansion, I got a big bank account, I'm famous, I have many admirers, blah, blah, blah. So those two concepts, I and mine, become actually very negative things that keep people in the material world. Therefore, there's a very interesting lecture Prabhupada gave on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, 13th verse. And he gave the lecture, it doesn't say here, but anyway. So in this lecture, it's about the 26 qualities of a devotee. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read one part of it because it's very interesting. So Prabhupada says, one of the 26 good qualities of a devotee is he or she is satisfied in any condition. And Prabhupada says, not that I must have all these things, then I'll be satisfied. Otherwise, I'm going to leave the temple and leave ISKCON. And Prabhupada chuckles. No, this is not Vaishnava qualification. You must live with the devotees, even if you are not satisfied. Any condition, you should be satisfied. Because as soon as you leave the company, you become again rogues, again demons, etc. At least you'll be saved if you keep with the company of the devotees. Satam prasanga mama virya samvido. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. In other words, in the association of devotees, one regularly hears about Krishna. If you give up the company, then you again become rogues and demons. Therefore, you must be satisfied in whatever condition of life you're in. Whatever Krishna has given, that's all right. Be satisfied with it. Then the next quality is surrender to Krishna. And that satisfaction can be achieved only when one is fully surrendered to Krishna. If I have surrendered to Krishna, Krishna has taken my charge. Krishna says, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksyasmi mahasucha. Bhagavad Gita 1866. In other words, Aham tvam, I sarvapapipyo moksha. I will liberate you. Tvam is you, so aham is I. Tvam is you. Sarvapapipyo, all sins. Mokshyami, liberate. I will liberate you from all sins and sinful reactions. Then why shall I bother myself if I am thinking I am suffering? It is also Krishna's grace or mercy. We should take it like that. Even in my consideration, I am in a position which is apparently suffering. We must accept this as Krishna's mercy or grace. All right, I have surrendered to Krishna. If Krishna is giving me some suffering, that's all right. That is surrender. Oh, I have surrendered to Krishna, and now Krishna is giving me suffering? Oh, I'm going to leave Krishna consciousness. That is not surrender. Surrender means in any condition, you remain surrendered. That is surrender. Now that I put my own condition, and if you satisfy me, then I shall be happy, that is business. That is not surrender. Surrender means in any condition, fully surrendered to Krishna. And without hankering. What is the hankering? Why shall I be hankering? I know Krishna will give me all protection. Otherwise, why shall I hanker? Hanker means why should I have any other desires? Without hankering, simple, no duplicity, simple. The worldly men, they are duplicitous, speaking something but meaning something else and cheating. One of the qualifications of materialistic man is he must be a cheater. There are 4 defects: commit mistakes, be illusion, become a cheater, and imperfect senses. This is called material life, conditioned life. He must commit mistakes. However, even if he's a great philosopher. We are talking about philosophers. So many contradictory things they say. They say so many contradictory things because they are ordinary men. How can he say the right thing? It's not possible. The right thing can be said only by liberated persons. Therefore, we take advice from the liberated person, just like we are understanding all these things from Vyasadeva, from Sukadeva Goswami. They are liberated. We are not reading some Mr. John R. Mead's book. No, liberated souls. So that should be our source of knowledge. Okay, so this is just one part of this lecture, but it's very interesting because he's saying that we should always remain, the way that one is identified as a Vaishnava is Asat Sangha Tyaga e Vaishnavachar. Lord Chaitanya gave this definition. He was asked, who is a Vaishnava? And he said, Asat Sangha Tyaga e Vaishnavachar. The Vaishnava is someone who avoids the association of materialistic people. Now, when we go in Sankirtan and we approach all kinds of people and say, hello, my name is so-and-so, how are you? And today we have this book about yoga. Are you interested in yoga? They might say yes or no. And they said, well, not so much. I said, well, that's okay. I have another book about vegetarian cooking. How about that? Are you interested in vegetarian cooking? Well, maybe a little bit. Okay, so somehow or other, the devotee is associating with that materialistic person, but not to take their association, but to offer them knowledge of Krishna. So that's not associating with the materialist. But if you sit down to eat dinner with a materialist, and the materialist is eating meat, and you're sort of looking at it and trying to hold your nose, and you're hearing all kinds of nonsense talk, oh, what did the Mariners do today? Oh, the Mariners, they lost the game. Oh, really? So that is association. There's a difference between going out to help people by giving them prasadam and knowledge of Krishna, and associating with them by seeing their nonsense activities and hearing their nonsense talk. So the way to understand a devotee is they avoid the association of materialistic people, and they keep the association of genuine devotees who are actually following the rules and regulations. So Therefore, satisfied in any condition, that's one of the good qualities of a devotee. He doesn't say, well, for me to be satisfied, I must have the following list of things. No, that's not the devotee. The devotee is satisfied with whatever Krishna gives. And even if Krishna gives, because what is the basis of the satisfaction? It's satam prasangat mama virya samido. It's associating with genuine devotees and continually hearing on a regular basis Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and discussing it and assimilating the knowledge that Krishna is giving and becoming purified of the desire for sense gratification, and thus engaging as much as possible in Krishna's devotional service and eventually developing affection and love for Krishna. So the devotee has a very lofty purpose in life. And on top of all that, the devotee feels very unhappy to see the suffering of other people. And the suffering of other people is all over, in every country of the world. And therefore, the devotee will make an effort to try and help those people get out of suffering, which is unnecessary. As we read yesterday in the first canto, 7th chapter, verse number 6, it says clearly that suffering and misery is unnecessary. It's only because we refuse to accept Krishna's instructions, and we begin to listen to all the speculators, and the speculators are in the religions also. See, Mayavadis are supposed to be, can be counted as being Hindus, but they're speculating, and we just read the speculation in Christianity. See, so the speculation is all over the material world, and the devotee tries to eliminate it by giving people a possibility to hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so what Prabhupada said here, he explains what is real surrender, he explains what is the criterion of satisfaction for the devotee, real devotee, and he explains why the devotee does not have hankering or desires for anything material, but only has desires to please Krishna and Guru. So these are all fundamental points that we should understand. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. The devotee understands these things as it's explained here. And also, the devotee understands that the materialistic philosophers and scientists are basically talking nonsense. And we've gone over that also, that most of the things that they say are nonsense. Everything started by a point of infinite density, and then there was this gigantic explosion, and then everything came together again. Everything came together, and the planets were created, and eventually people were created. It all happened without any intelligence behind it. It just happened by the Big Bang. So their God is the Big Bang, which is nonsense, right? So, okay. So then the other point I wanted to touch today is so he says, the different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I, or I and mind. So how do we overcome this misconception of I and mine? Well, that's what we're doing by reading Bhagavatam and discussing it and hearing it. We have to understand what it means to be a person. A real person is eternally liberated and has a spiritual body and no longer has a material body covering him or her, and is the eternal servant of Krishna and is fully satisfied by the transcendental activities in the spiritual world. So either we're seeking satisfaction by our activities in the material world, but no one is really satisfied, or we're satisfied by the transcendental, pure activities in the spiritual world. In both instances, you need to be a person, and you need activity and relationships also. Everything is relational in the material world. So you cannot be an island to yourself. So where can we actually be happy? Only in the spiritual world. We can't really be happy in the material world because we're subject to birth, death, old age, and disease, and we have all these misconceptions of I and mine, and we're identifying ourselves wrongly, and we wrongly become possessive of temporary things, and that just causes misery. And the misery can go up to death, just like this lady. She's telling the thief, get out of my house. We're not going to give you a damn thing. And he said, oh, yeah? Okay. And he just kills her. See, if she just kept her mouth shut and said, take whatever you want, brother, bro, take whatever you want. Here, take this. This is worth $10,000. You can take that, And I got some cash also. Take that also. But don't take my life, right? But no, she's so attached. Don't take anything. You're not allowed. I'm not going to give you anything. Get out of here. So he just kills her. So this is the danger of the false I and the false mind. So the whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., meaning there's other things also, is conceived by the conditioned souls on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. There you go. Where does one learn this strong desire to enjoy material life? In school, in the family, in television, in the internet, in the books. They're all talking about I and mine, and eventually that filters into the mind of the child, and then it stays there for the rest of their life, and it's very difficult to get it out of the mind. Identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on. So this is basically a paraphrase of the verse. Yasyatma buddhi kunape chudaduke swadi kalatradisu bahomna ijyadi yatirtha buddhi salile nakarisij janesha abhigyesu sa eva gochara. This is 10th canto, 84th verse, 13th chapter. And it says, a human being who identifies this body made of three elements, meaning kapha, pitta, vayu, with his self. So see, that's the first and most biggest mistake we make in life. That is to identify the material body as the self. But we're not this body. We are the soul that's covered by the body, but yet we identify with the body. So that's the first point. A human being who identifies this body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen. So children, uncles, aunties, father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, great-grandfather, great-grandmother, etc. You have two sets of grandmothers and two sets of grandfathers, right? So, if you identify with all these people and things, this is my grandfather's farm that now my father inherited, and now he's going to give it to me when he dies. So all this generational false identification is encumbering, and who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who considers the land of birth worshipable. Just like, people pay allegiance to the flag of India or the flag of the United States. People, just like Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram. I'm worshiping the Mother Earth, and like I said, sometimes when people have been away from their country and they land in their country and they walk off the airplane and they kiss the ground. This is my earth. This is my land. And they're willing to die for that land and kill for that land. Right? So, who considers the land of birth worshipable and who goes to the place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge there is to be considered like an ass or a cow. So that's what Prabhupada is talking about here. And it's a very famous verse. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. It's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also, 3rd chapter, 40th verse. So it says, identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth, is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity. What's the real nature of the living entity? Jivera Swarupahaya Nityera Krishna Das. I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. And so on and so forth is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity. And the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's who we're reading about now, right? The discussion between Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, who's asking him many questions. This is the only way and the sure way to become free from the whole misconception of I and mine and the bewilderment that we're living in right now due to our desire to enjoy material life. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. And are there any questions? Yes.
Kind of just answered it, your last statement right there,
Yeah.
correcting the misconception.
Yeah.
But
That-
I guess my question is into how to, you go to family events, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and everyone's just repeating their favorite pundit, basically from TV, non-liberated personalities.
Yes.
It just adds confusion. I guess I'm just trying to find a way to break through, obviously, scriptures.
No, the breakthrough is what you just did today. You took the trouble to come here from, I don't know, Olympia or somewhere. And, huh?
Corvallis.
Corvallis?
Yeah,
You live in Corvallis?
I do. Well, technically Kings Valley, but I say Corvallis.
That's at least 2.5 hour drive.
No, no more.
Oh, I'm
Corvallis
sorry.
is 2 more. 6 hours, yeah.
It was about 6 hours.
6 hours?
Yeah.
You mean coming and going or coming only?
No,
Coming here.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. I might have been speeding when I went to Corvallis.
it's beyond Port.
No, it's beyond. It's beyond
Portland.
Portland, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been there many times.
Yeah.
Anyway, what you did, you drove 6 hours. So you must have left around what? 1 o'clock, right? To get here, to sit down and do what? To hear the discussion between Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, which is what Prabhupada says. The bewildered living entity can be removed by the it can be removed from, all these entangling relationships in the material world by the association of Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there were a large group of great sages that met for 1,000 years after the disappearance of Krishna 5,000 years ago, and they listened to the Srimad Bhagavatam and discussed it. And why did they meet? And these sages were not only from the earth, they were from all over the universe. They met to figure out what would be the best remedy for people suffering in this age called Kali Yuga. And their conclusion was that the best thing to help people in this age is for them to hear Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by a saintly person or saintly persons, and on a regular basis, including every day, right up to the moment of death. And that's the only panacea for this horrible disease called material, the desire to enjoy material life, because it's a what you would call a pipe dream or a palace in the sky, as they say in Hindi. They say Mahal, Akash Mahal, right? It's a palace in the sky. There's no palace in the sky, but you can imagine one, right? So the idea that I'm going to be happy in the material world somewhere, and it'll be sustainable happiness. That's a pie in the sky. That's the Hava Mahal. It's called Hava Mahal. It's a palace in the sky. It doesn't exist, but you can name it. You understand what it says, but if you look for it, you're not going to find it, right? So that's the same thing with, let me find a permanent place where I'm going to be happy in the material world. So I need a house, I need some land, I need a car, I need a credit card, I need the washing machine, I need a dryer, I need a big backyard to grow my own vegetables, and I need this, and I need that, I need a rake, I need a plow, I need this. But nothing is permanent, and no position in the material world, and no matter what you do or how powerful you are, will give you sustained material happiness. It's not possible. So trying to do something that's impossible is the definition of frustration and eventually going crazy. Just like you put a monkey in front of a computer and you force it to learn how to code. Eventually the monkey would die because you keep forcing it, trying to teach it something. It can't do it. In the same way, we keep forcing ourselves to find a permanent position to be happy in the material world, and it just doesn't happen. There's little spurts of happiness, but it's not sustainable. So therefore, why try to do something impossible? Well, as we explained yesterday, nobody forced you to get married, nobody forced you to have children, and nobody's forcing you to work in this company or that company. Those are all personal choices that we made, and those choices lead to responsibilities. So we cannot walk away from those responsibilities in a whimsical way. So therefore, we have to grin and bear it. In other words, just as Prabhupada said, you have to surrender to Krishna, and that satisfaction can be achieved only when one is fully surrendered to Krishna. If I have surrendered to Krishna, Krishna has taken my charge. Krishna says, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshisyami mahasuchava. I will protect you and liberate you from all your sinful reactions in the past. Then why shall I bother myself if I am thinking I am suffering? It is also Krishna's grace. We should take like that. We should take it like that. Even in my consideration, I am in a position which is apparently suffering. We must accept this as Krishna's mercy. All right, I have surrendered to Krishna. If Krishna is giving me suffering, that's all right. That is surrender. Oh, I have surrendered to Krishna, and now Krishna is giving me suffering. Oh, I will leave Krishna consciousness, and I will no longer think about Krishna. That is not surrender. Surrender means in any condition, you'll remain surrendered. That is surrender. Not that I put my own condition, and if you satisfy me, then I shall stay, and if you're not satisfying me, then I'll go away. That is business. That's not surrender. That is business negotiation with God, right? That is not surrender. Surrender means in any condition, fully surrendered to Krishna. So, if we're surrendered, we will patiently wait till our obligations are fulfilled. Raising our children, taking care of husband or wife, and sometimes parents and grandparents. And when all this are done properly, then one can walk away, either with one's wife or without one's wife. At a certain point in Vanaprastha, the husband and wife both go on pilgrimages and disassociate themselves from home and hearth. And when the husband feels competent and the wife gives permission, he can take sannyas. Or if the wife is perfectly happy to live a simple life like that, preaching and doing service, then there's no need to take sannyas, because both the husband and wife are living like sannyasis, right? So this is what we discussed yesterday. You weren't here, so I wanted to just repeat that. So no one should walk away whimsically from responsibilities, especially with family responsibilities. They have to wait till the children are grown, educated, and are independent. And at that point, if the wife and the husband are on the same wavelengths about what their purpose is in life now that they've accomplished their family obligation, then they can both take up full-time devotional service, live very simple life in the association of devotees, and engage 24 hours a day in devotional service. And if the wife is not agreeable to that, then she's put under the protection of her children or in a holy place, and the husband takes sannyas. And that's what Prabhupada did. Okay, so that's the answer. But the answer is hearing Bhagavatam every day, right up to the moment of death, and discussing it, and then preaching it, giving it to other people. That is the solution to all these problems. If we don't hear it, then we get stuck in the material nature for the rest of our life. Okay, so I don't see Arush here. Oh, there you are. Okay, so you did your homework, right? Okay. And who else did? Okay, Samarth did his homework. Okay, Arush, come up, read your homework. And Charan did homework too? Okay. So Charan and Samarth, you can read your homework tomorrow. Is that okay? Yeah. So Arush will read it now. Arush's homework was very good, by the way. So read it into the microphone. Right? And I'll give everybody their homework for next week, tomorrow. Go ahead, come on.
The question was, the topic we discussed in class was how the life of a devotee is different from the life of a materialistic person. Look up examples of devotees who chose to suffer rather than protest. Explain what is in the mind of the devotee. Reference, Nectar of Devotion, page 91, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8, and Bhagavad Gita 12.13 through 14.
Okay, so this is the homework, good. What is the difference between the mentality of a devotee and that of a materialist? Okay, go ahead.
The life of a devotee is different from a materialistic person because they follow the four regulative principles, which are no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. An example of a devotee who chose to suffer instead of protest is Parikshit Maharaj.
1 minute. Don't read so fast. Just read slower.
Okay.
Okay. Start all over again.
The life of a devotee is different from a materialistic person because they follow the four regulative principles, which are no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. An example of a devotee who chose to suffer instead of protest is Parikshit Maharaj.
An example of what?
A devotee who chose to suffer is Parikshit Maharaj.
I didn't understand. Say it again. Slower.
An example of a devotee who chose to suffer instead of protest is Parikshit Maharaj.
Who chose or chooses?
Chose.
No, chooses. Chose means it's in the past, right? But that's not the right way to say it. It's a devotee who chooses or who decides to suffer rather than to protest. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. An example of a devotee who chooses to suffer instead of protest is Parikshit Maharaj. He had chosen to suffer from the curse of the Brahmin boy instead of protesting. He was the ruler of the earth, but he still did not protest. He had just accepted it as the will of the Lord. He had full faith in the protection of the Lord. He did not try to make any arrangements to protect himself. Instead, he immediately gave up his royal duties and went to the bank of the Ganges. He knew that one who engages in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord would get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Finally, Parikshit Maharaj went back home, back to Godhead. Another example is Prahlad Maharaj. He was only 5 years old and had to undergo a great deal of suffering at the hands of his father, who was torturing him for being a devotee. He chose to suffer from his father instead of trying to run away or fight him back. He had simply depended on the Lord. A devotee may sometimes have to suffer, but he tolerates the suffering. Also, a devotee who had chosen to suffer instead of protest was Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was a devotee of Lord Krishna and had practiced chanting the names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, 300,000 times daily, but was threatened by Qazi. Infuriated, Qazi ordered Haridas Thakur publicly whipped to death. He was brutally beaten, dragged through 22 marketplaces, and thrown into the Ganges. Such a punishment would ordinarily be death, a death sentence, as no ordinary man could survive such a whipping. But Haridas Thakur felt no pain. He did not protest at all. He had just focused his mind on Krishna. Agastya Muni had cursed King Indraduma, but the king had welcomed the curse because the devotee is always aware that nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Lord. When this happened, the king considered it to be due to his past misdeeds. This is a practical example of how a devotee thinks. He regards any reverses as in life as a blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then I made points about what is in the devotee's mind.
Yeah.
So number 1, always thinks of the Lord without deviation and without considering the time or place. Number 2, he never accuses the Lord of putting him into a distressed condition. When suffering reverse conditions, the devotee always considers that the reverse condition are the Lord's concessions. This is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.10.14. Number 3, when a devotee is in the condition of so-called distress, he considered it as a gift or blessing from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a devotee is always thus situated in Krishna consciousness in any condition of life, he is described as Mukti Pada Cha Daya Bak, a perfect candidate for returning home back to Godhead. The word Daya Bak means inheritance. A son inherits the property of his father. Similarly, when a devotee is fully Krishna conscious, undisturbed by dualities, he is sure that he will return home back to Godhead, just as one inherits his father's property. This is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.31. Number 4, a devotee regards distress as a great favor of the Lord because he understands that he is being cleansed of contamination. Number 5, a devotee by his words, deeds, and mind is always surrendered to Krishna and always executes Guru and Krishna's desire to the best of his ability. Number 6, when a devotee chants hears the transcendental glories of the Lord, his heart is cleansed of all material contamination and he can go back to Godhead. Number 7, the pure devotee is constantly engaged in the pure devotional service of the Lord. And number 8, a pure devotee's mind is always interested in thinking how to satisfy the senses of the Lord instead of his own senses. Thus, when a devotee suffers, he thinks it to be the mercy of the Lord and does not expect immediate relief from the reactions.
Does not accept.
Yeah.
Does not accept.
Expect.
Does not what?
Expect.
Okay. Here you wrote accept.
Really? No.
How do you spell that word there?
EXCEPT.
That means accept. You're saying expect.
Yeah, accept.
The devotee does not accept immediate relief from the reactions of his past misdeeds. The devotee does not expect. It's accept. EXCEPT is accept, right?
Yeah. I think I did a mistake there. I meant to say
Okay,
expect.
go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Immediate relief from the reactions of his past misdeeds. One should be engaged in Krishna conscious activities because such activities do not produce reaction. A devotee who is perfectly free from the resulted reaction.
A devotee who is not perfectly freed.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
A devotee who is not perfectly freed from the resulted reaction should continue to act in Krishna consciousness seriously even though he faces impediments. In such situations, one should think about Krishna and expect his mercy. A devotee who lives in that spirit is promoted to the abode of the Lord. This is mentioned in Nectar of Devotion, page 91.
Okay, very good. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay, so now we will have Aarti and Samarth Prabhu and Charan. They can read their sing tomorrow, okay? Give you a little chance to work on it some more. Thank you very much. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. So just one little clarification. When it says a devotee prefers to suffer than to protest, let's say you're a husband and you have a wife and kids, and someone comes and is choking your wife or is trying to kidnap your kid. You don't just suffer rather than protest in a situation like that. This is when you are insulted or assaulted. When it's you only, then you may choose to suffer rather than to protest. And that was the condition of Prahlad Maharaj and others. But when you have responsibilities and people are depending on you and they are attacked for some reason or other, you can't apply that principle. It's better to suffer than protest. You have to protect them. So let's not misunderstand that. We are not what you would call fanatical pacifists. We're not like that. When we have responsibilities, we have to keep them. Just like when Jatayu saw Sita being kidnapped by Ravana, he immediately challenged Ravana to fight to try and save Sita, and he died in doing it. And Prabhupada says we should all be like Jatayu, willing to die for the Lord, right? To protect the Lord's devotee, or in this case, Sita Devi. So, but when we personally are insulted or even maybe assaulted in some way or other, then that principle of it's better to suffer than to protest can be used, because that's the example of Ambarish Maharaj, of Prahlad Maharaj, and Dhruva Maharaj, and others. So, Hare Krishna.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma.
Bandhu Moyi Savadana Mate.
Bandhu Moyi Savadana Mate.
Sadana Mate.
Bandhu Moyi Savadana Mate.
Jahara Prasade Bhai Bhavaturiya Jai.
Janara Prasade Bhai Bhavaturiya Jai.
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jahate.
I want the words up there.
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Kya.
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Kya.
Na Kori Ho Mane Asha. Sri Guru Charane Rati Se Uttama Gati. प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिल जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
चक्षुदान दिला जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित
प्रेम भक्ति जाओते अविद्या विनाश जाते
भक्ति जाते अविद्या विनाश जाते
प्रेम भक्ति जाते अविद्या विनाश जाते
प्रेम भक्ति जाते अविद्या विनाश जाते
वेद गाय जहर चरितो वेद गाय जहर चरितो
वेद गाय जनर चरितो
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनर बंधु
सिंधु अधन जनर बंधु
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनर बंधु
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधन जनर बंधु
लोकना लोकेर जीवाना
लोकेना लोकेर जीवाना
लोकना लोकेर जीवाना
लोकेना लोकेर जीवाना
आहा प्रभु कोरु दोया देह मोरे पादचया
प्रभु कोरा दोया देह मोरे पादचया
आहा प्रभु कोरु दोया देह मोरे पादचया
प्रभु कोरा दोया देह मोरे पादचया
आहा प्रभु कोरु दोया देह मोरे पादचया ए बेजाज गुश त्रिभुवाना श्रीला प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना
पतित पवाना
गुरुदेव अविलोचना गुरुदेव अविलोचना प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Hare Ramo 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Radhe
Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Shri Radhe.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Jai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Gaur Premanande.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajika Shasta Saraswati Rishi Shishimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakhosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Brindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Patita Bhavani Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pacharini Nirvisesa Sunyavani Paskati Nistar. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only desire is attachment to his lotus feet. His perfection fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter